Mike Edding, and my colleague is Susan McBride, and we're both part of the team that does these Voyagers travel discussion clubs, which meet periodically, usually once a quarter, to talk about either a destination or a travel topic. And tonight we thought that since many of us are not traveling, that it would be good to talk about virtually traveling and how you might find that as a way to enhance your life when you can't get out there and get your feet on the road. So again, if you have questions during the course of the presentation, please use the Q&A button, which on my screen, on my iPad, it's at the top of the screen, but I think on computers, it tends to be at the bottom, and your phone, I think it's at the bottom on the phone too. So without any further delay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So what is virtual travel? Well, basically, it's using technology to simulate a visit to another place. And to do that, they use media like photos, sound, and video to make you feel like you're there. And the degree of the immersion depends on things like the technology that they're using and maybe the skill of the person who either shot the video or took the photos, or possibly their editing skills. So sometimes it really pulls you in, and that's really what we were looking for when we started trying to find some of these opportunities for you to check out. Hopefully you all have the PDF that Susan sent out earlier today that has links to a lot of these things that we're going to talk about. So you can just click on the link and it'll open up a window. You can do that at your leisure. If you feel like stepping away from the program and actually clicking on one to check it out so you know what we're talking about, that's fine. But we'll continue on here. We're not going to allow a lot of time for you to explore. We have a lot of things to cover. So why might you travel virtually? Well, you know, the pandemic has affected virtually every aspect of travel, and it may be a while before things return to the way they were. So virtual travel really allows you to explore the world without putting yourself at risk. And you might also look at virtual travel as a way to save some money. The resources we're sharing with you today are all free, but even if you booked a virtual cooking class with a chef in Italy, it would still be less expensive than if you were actually flying there to visit. And one of the great things about virtual travel is how it makes the whole world accessible. There are some hikes that require several hours of effort in order to reach a vista, for example, and virtual travel lets you get there instantly, which is great. So as age tends to slow us all down a bit, this will give us all the chance to see some things that we might not ordinarily be able to see. So again, we're going to talk about some of the different ways to travel virtually. Susan is going to jump in and cover those.
So when you hear us talking about these different virtual trips that you can take, you're going to be hearing a lot of different terminologies. And so I wanted to go over with you just a little bit about what these different types of experiences are and what we mean by them. The first is there are lots of different opportunities to watch this 360-degree type video. And what that means is it's a special video that's been shot using a camera that is 360-degree range. And you are able to physically click on your screen and move the vantage point that you have 360 degrees from where you are. In some cases, these are still photos that are where you can see the vista that where you're standing from a 360-degree angle. Sometimes it's actually moving video where you can kind of pan around and look down and look up and look to the left and to the right. And it's it can be a very immersive experience when it's done well. But that's what we mean by 360-degree video. There are also several different highly interactive travel sites, and you'll be seeing those. I've shown a couple examples here with Yosemite, and when I move further along into my presentation, you'll see what I mean. But for example, with these at the Yosemite site, each of the red pins are locations within the park that you can click on, and then you will be taken to that location and you will see the vantage point from that scene. There are also informational blurbs about each location. And so you can really get interactive and move yourself around the different locations and have a personalized experience that way. There are also sites where there's a person who's actually narrating and giving you information about your experience, your virtual travel experiences as well. So that will also make it interactive. We also have included several YouTube videos, which are just, you know, two-dimensional normal videos, but some of them are of actual hikes from start to finish. Some of them are compilations of different video that has been shot at the same location from different vantage points. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use YouTube and other videos to travel virtually. And then lastly, there are some live stream opportunities where you can actually see what is happening in real time at a particular location. And I will be discussing some of those coming up too in our program. But they're pretty cool, you know, if these are locations that you're interested in traveling to. So hopefully you will feel like you've been able to travel even though you're staying at home. So I'm going to start our presentation talking about different North American opportunities for travel. And the first place I want to start is Yosemite. This is a national park. It's located in California, and it's known for its waterfalls and its really unusual rock formations. And the Yosemite website, I picked this out because it is really one of the premier interactive websites that will allow you to travel and learn about what you're seeing and where you're going within the park. As I showed you at the beginning, each of those pins on the map you can click on and it will take you to that site. And then each of those sites will have an informational blurb about what you're seeing with links for more information. And then the map will show you, if you click on the map icon, it will show you what you're seeing. And so it's a 360-degree video. So as you move your vantage point, the map will show you, you know, with angles, what it is that you're looking at. And it's a very interesting and well done site. And I highly recommend that you play around with it and visit Yosemite using this national park website. Within Yosemite, Half Dome is one of the sites that is very well known. Ansel Adams, the famous photographer, took a lot of photos of Half Dome. It's a very recognizable symbol of Yosemite. And the second site that I have listed here is Virtual Hike Up Half Dome. It's a 6-minute video and it's set to music. So it's not, you don't feel like you're actually taking the hike, but it does give you the experience and incredible vistas that you will see as you make your way up Half Dome. To climb up it, if you were to do it in real life, it's a 14-mile trek. So this is a much easier and safer way to travel up to the top of Half Dome. And then lastly, at Yosemite, I've picked a Google Earth or video site that will allow you to virtually climb up El Capitan, which is one of the favorite spots of rock climbers. And it's a 360-degree interactive video where you can literally click your way up the facade of El Capitan, and you can turn the video around and you can see what's behind you and look down and look up. And it's it's a really neat way to experience it without actually putting yourself in harm's way. So I would recommend that video as well. And each of these, there are many, many videos out there on Yosemite and of all of the sites that we've picked. So we're highlighting some of the more unique videos that we think that you might enjoy. Another interesting site is this is one called the Hidden Worlds of National Parks, and it's done by the National Park Service as well. And this site it's an interactive, virtually guided tour of 5 national parks. Now, it doesn't take you to all of the parks, and it doesn't take you to all of the different places within the park, but it is narrated by a park ranger, and they will take you to some of the high points of the park. So the parks that are covered on this are the Kenai Fords in Alaska, the Hawaiian volcanoes in Hawaii, Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, Bryce Canyon in Utah, and the Dry Tortugas in Key West, Florida. And so, for example, in Alaska, the park ranger will take you on a trip through the glaciers and teach you about the glaciers and how they're receding. And you can actually go into a glacial crevice with the park ranger. And again, that's a 360-degree video where you can click and get a lot of different vantage points and feel like you're actually in the glacier with her. There's a lot of wonderful information that they provide. In Hawaii, you learn about the volcanoes and about the lava flow and the land formations from the lava. In Carlsbad Caverns, you learn about the caves, you learn about the bats that live in the caves. There's a whole segment on the bats. In Bryce Canyon, you'll be hiking with a ranger and you'll learn about the hoodoos, which are the irregular columns of rock that are within the canyon. And they do it's a dark sky preserve. So they do an evening sky tour of what you'll see when you're in Bryce Canyon. And then in Dry Tortugas, you will go diving in the coral reefs and see a shipwreck. That one is the harder one for me to see because of the water, because it's an underwater video. It's a little bit harder to make out what you're looking at, but you can direct yourself around and learn a lot about these national parks just from your computer. So it's a pretty interesting way to travel to them. Next, I want to talk about the Grand Canyon. And there are a lot of videos that you can find on the internet about the Grand Canyon and lots of ways to travel to see it. So I've picked up a couple that I think are just a little different that might be interesting to play around with. The first video that I want to talk about is the Bright Angel Trail video, which is also part of Google Maps. It is a 360-degree video, and it's a virtual hike. And you click your way through the trail on the Bright Angel Trail, and you can advance yourself in position of the hike, but you can also do the 360-degree view so you can see every aspect of the hike along the way. The Bright Angel Trail, if you don't know, is one of the most popular trails. It's one of the most prestigious trails in the canyon, and it's the one that will allow you to descend all the way down to the Colorado River and to Phantom Ranch. Typically, it would be about a 4 to 5 hour hike. So it's a little easier to do it when you're clicking on your computer screen. The next hike that I want to mention is one that is a little more remote and a little less popular. And this is the Havasu Falls hike. And it is a hike that you must have reservations in order to take the hike. And I think it's currently closed. So even if you could, you wouldn't be able to take the hike. It is a 10-mile hike into the canyon from just west of Grand Canyon National Park. And you hike this 10 miles. It takes you almost all day, and then you have to camp overnight and then hike out. It's only accessible by hiking, and you see lots of beautiful waterfalls, and you hike through the Supai village, which is the Havasupai tribe village. It's been around for, I think, 800 years. And so this is a video. It's a 40-minute video, and it's the actual hike along the trail. It's beautiful. It's stunning. I highly recommend it. It is a long video, but you do feel like you're actually taking this hike to this more remote area that you probably wouldn't see otherwise. All right, I'm going to move on to Yellowstone National Park. Again, it's a wonderful site that has been put together by the National Park Service. Yellowstone was the world's first national park, and it's known for its geological wonders of Old Faithful and lots of geological beauty to be seen in Yellowstone. It's about 300 square miles, and right now they are severely limiting the amount of people that they're allowing to visit Yellowstone. So it makes it the perfect place to visit from your computer at home. The interactive tour of Yellowstone provides different video walks at very popular sites within Yellowstone, and there are there's a map, an interactive map that you can click on, but you can also just see the videos listed when you go to the site. And you can walk along. It's the same sound as if you were hiking along these trails to get to the different sites. There's also a live webcam that you can tap into to see Old Faithful. And there are other maps that you can click on and informational blurbs about different locations that are geologically interesting, and you can learn more about the sites within Yellowstone without having to actually go there. And if you see in the bottom of the corner, that's sorry, I advanced it, but that was the map that you could click on and get some interaction and learn more about what you're looking at. Also in our North American destinations, I want to talk about a couple of national parks in Canada that have nice videos that you can watch as you travel from home. Banff is probably one of the most premier national parks in Canada. It was the first national park, and it is located in Alberta in the Canadian Rockies, just north of Montana and Idaho, and just west of Calgary. Banff is a beautiful national park. It's full of rugged mountains and beautiful turquoise mountain lakes. One of these lakes is Moraine Lake. And this first link that I have is to a video. It's an 18-minute video, and it's a hike around Moraine Lake through the woods, and you'll see waterfalls and rocks, and it's an actual hike. So you hear the sounds of the hiker, and they stop and they look at the different vistas along the way. And it's a really well done, beautiful view of this pristine lake in Banff. And then after that, I've listed a Johnston Canyon hike. Johnston Canyon is one of the most popular destinations in Banff. It is located near Lake Louise. It's a scenic wooded canyon with lots of great hiking trails and really stunning waterfalls. This video is a 40-minute video. It's a longer video. It is an actual hike, but it has relaxing music in the background. And so it's very entertaining and relaxing to sit and put it on your full screen and watch as you walk your way along Bow River and through the canyon that has been caused by erosions over thousands of years. It's just very beautiful. And then finally, I included a video. It's a 15-minute video that is set to music, and it's a compilation of scenes from different parts of the Canadian Rockies. There are scenes from Banff, which I just mentioned. There are scenes from Yoho National Park, which is just west of Banff, and then scenes from Jasper National Park, which is farther north of Yoho and Banff, up into Alberta, almost on the British Columbia border. The, the video is very high resolution. It's very professionally and beautifully done. It's set to music, like I mentioned, and it's a very pretty and relaxing way to take in the Canadian Rockies. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who is going to talk about South America.
So the first destination I'd like to touch on in South America is a place called Iguazu Falls. And this actually lies at the intersection of three countries: Brazil, Argentina, and Venezuela. While the majority of the river's flow actually occurs in Brazil, most of the, I guess, the total area of the falls can be found in Argentina. Eleanor Roosevelt, upon seeing the falls for the first time, reportedly said, "Poor Niagara." I think she said this because it's roughly a third taller than Niagara and 3 times wider, although there's actually more water that goes over Niagara's falls. It's about 25% higher flow rate. The falls are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and interestingly, Niagara Falls are not. So the video that I chose for you is a 360-degree video. It shows footage from this sort of daredevil paraglider pilot. He has a motorized paraglider, and it approaches the falls and soars over them, and it's really spectacular. I think that's a great introduction to this beautiful site. The next place I'd like to talk is also sort of in the northern area of South America. It's called Mount Roraima. And this is at the intersection of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil. So all three of these countries converge on the top of this plateau, which is a geologic formation which they locally call a tepuy, which means house of the gods. And it's mainly consisting of sandstone. And the landscape, which is really sacred to the indigenous people in the area, it rises about 1,300 feet above the surrounding landscape. It has sheer faces which are regularly above the clouds. And you'll see these narrow waterfalls that break up the plain of each side. It's really kind of cool. This area held such a sense of mystique that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote a novel called The Lost World, in which the landscape is populated by living dinosaurs. And if you look carefully in Pixar's movie Up, you'll find scenes from Mount Roraima. It was clearly inspired by the scenery of Mount Roraima. So this video is one of the most spectacular videos that I found, and it has time-lapse segments, aerial footage, and other really impressive shots. So I think you'll really enjoy this one. It's not terribly long, but it packs a wallop. So moving on to the next page. I think, yes. Yeah, we're going to go back to South America and talk about a national park in Chile, which is called Torres del Paine. And this park translates to basically the Blue Towers. And it's found near the southern end of Chile. It's best known for the 3 towers that are kind of the namesake of the park. And they rise as high as 8,200 feet above sea level. And besides the 3 granite towers, you'll also find a glacier called Glacier Gray. And Torres del Paine appeared in a special edition of National Geographic magazine that talked about the world's most beautiful destinations. And this park came in at number 5 on that list. A lot of visitors come between November and April, which is spring and summer there, but you'll find it somewhat less crowded in the shoulder seasons, September, October, and March. And the videos that I've chosen for you, the first one is a high resolution aerial video of southern Patagonia. And I really like this one for the variety of views it shows. It's got some nice music. It's very soothing. The second video is more of a traditional travel video. It's from the YouTube channel Worlds Like Fire. I chose it because the quality of the video is quite good, and the narrator, I think, seemed to be pretty credible to me. He's done a lot of hiking around the world, and he talks about how Torres del Paine fits into sort of the scheme of hikes that he's taken. And the third video is a short 360 video of a place in the park called Mirador Las Torres, which is basically the view of the towers. So you'll get a view of the famous horns of the park overlooking this turquoise covered lake. And you can, move your vista, your vantage point around, like Susan was talking about. And if you were to go in person to try to hike this, it would be part of like a 9-hour hike. So 4 or 5 hours there and the same back, which is pretty strenuous. So this saves you a little bit of effort, and it's pretty impressive. So those are my South American sites. I'd like to talk about Europe next. The first site that I'd like to mention is a virtual tour of the Cliffs of Moher. And these cliffs are in County Clare on the west coast of Ireland. They occupy about 9 miles of the coastline and rise to a height of 700 feet over the sea. Near the highest point, you'll find O'Brien's Tower, which is an observation tower built in 1835 for English tourists, though legend has it that the person that built it to impress some women he was courting. So I'm not sure what to believe. But this particular link that you'll be clicking on puts you in the middle of a series of 360-degree images. And it has a navigation interface where you can click from one point to the next. So it's kind of different than some of the others that I've highlighted, in that you're actually doing some choosing, and then once you get to a spot, you can rotate around and see the whole view. So the next place I'd like to talk about in Europe is in Italy, going to the southern end of Europe. This video is a 360-degree video that was filmed on a scooter. So you're kind of in the vantage point of this person that's riding his scooter along the Amalfi Coast. And it has some really nice views. It's a 2-hour long video. So I found myself kind of moving ahead to spots that I wanted to see. So you can kind of see where you are as you're navigating this video by looking at the little thumbnail while you're moving ahead and back. But it's a pretty spectacular view. I have taken this trip myself in person, but on a bus. So I was only really able to look out one side of the bus while I was traveling from Sorrento to Positano. And here you get to see both sides and look up at the rocky cliffs and look down at the beautiful water. So it's definitely worth doing. So the next slide, please, is one of the most beautiful places, back one, is called Rhina, and it's in the Lofoten archipelago in Norway. It's a little village that is above the Arctic Circle, and it's one of the world's northernmost populated areas. Now, strangely, the climate is fairly mild in winter, considering how far north it is, with average highs in the mid-30s. And this particular village is about 300 people, so not a lot of people there, but the ones that live there have a nice view when they wake up in the morning with their coffee. Parts of this area experience the midnight sun, in which the sun doesn't drop below the horizon. So that's between late May and mid-July. I like the peaceful feeling of this particular video, which has a musical score instead of narration. And the landscape is just stunning. You'll see it pan up from kind of the village height going up to see the rocky formations. There's another video that I wanted to show you it's the highlights of the Lofoten archipelago, and they took this from a drone. So you'll see not just Rhina, but a number of other areas in this series of islands that are in Norway. So I was pretty impressed with this as well. So moving on to the next slide. In Switzerland, you've all probably heard of the Matterhorn, and this particular video is a view of the Matterhorn that's a 360-degree view. So as it's this, the camera is soaring over and beside this mountain, you'll be able to move around and see the valley below and that sort of thing. The Matterhorn is about 14,700 feet tall, and it's only the 6th tallest peak in the Alps, but it's very striking in its shape, which is like a pyramid basically. And it lies above the town of Zermatt, which is a touristy but very picturesque Swiss town. This particular mountain was first ascended in 1865. And in recent years, an average of a dozen people have died every year trying to attempt the summit. So it's not an easy hike, even though it's not that tall in the whole scheme of the Alps. So I have the aerial footage in the first video on the top of the page, and then in the second link, you'll find a view of Zermatt, as I mentioned before. The officials in Zermatt have done their best to make the town as serene as possible. So they really have outlawed most motor traffic. And so it has a fairly quiet atmosphere. I think the cars that do exist are official cars, and they may be electric. So it's a good place to visit. And this just takes you on a walk through the center of the town, and so you can see the architecture that's common for this area, as well as where it sits in relation to the mountains. So that is Zermatt.
So we're going to move into Asia now, and there were so many sites in Asia, it was very hard to choose just what to show you. We're going to start in China with the Zhangjiajie National Forest. If you have seen James Cameron's Avatar movie, the floating islands in the movie are said to have been inspired by this national forest. It's absolutely stunning. It's in the Hunan province of China, which is kind of in the southern region of the country. And it consists of these giant sandstone pinnacles that rise up from the valley with little tufts of green shrubbery and evergreen trees clinging to it. And it's really a magical and stunning place to visit. Unfortunately, it has become completely overrun with tourists, and it's a shame. The tourists have diminished the experience when you go there in person. So it makes it a great destination to visit virtually, because you are not contributing to the tourism overrun, and you're able to see it in such a way where the tourists are not distracting. So the first video that I have provided to you is a 4-minute video, and it's set to music, but it also has narration. And it's a 360-degree video, which is really spectacular in this particular forest because of the natural formations. You can kind of look down into them and look up and around them. And it's a lot of fun to play around with, and it's very beautiful footage. And it makes it a very interesting destination to visit on your computer. The second site is another video. It is not a 360-degree video, but it is a very well filmed, high quality video set to some mood music in the background of the same area. It's a little bit shorter and is more of a compilation of different parts of the forest, but it's well worth watching. And then the final video is of Tiananmen Mountain, which is also known as Heaven's Gate Mountain because there's a wide natural arch that has occurred from erosion. And this is one of the high points of tourists, which is, it's literally become overrun. So it's hard to imagine going in person, but virtually visiting it makes a lot of sense. And one way that you can get up to the mountain is to take a cable car. And so the video itself starts in the cable car going up to the top of the mountain. And then it presents you with different parts of the mountain, and there's lots of walking pathways around the edge of it. And you can look down over into the valley and into waterfalls. And you can see the winding road that you can actually take to get to the top of Tiananmen Mountain. And it's interesting because the road itself has 99 hairpin turns, and then there are 99 steps to get to the top. And that is significant because the number 9 represents the emperor or son of heaven in Taoism. So in the video, it does show you at one point this windy, twisty road that is snaking its way up the mountain, and it's really pretty amazing to see. So I think that's a good representation of the Zhangjiajie National Forest. Also in China and straddling the Vietnam border is the Dacian Falls, which they're 2 twin waterfalls that are on the Khe Son River, which separates China from Vietnam. It's very close to Ha Long Bay. And in this video, you can see the backdrop of these karst hills that are very familiar in this part of the world. And this video I picked because it is a 365 or 360 degree video. It's only 3.5 minutes long, but you can go up and over the falls and then turn around and look back behind the falls at the river. And the falls are famous because they are one of the only falls that straddle 2 countries. They're one of the largest too. So, and they're really beautiful, and you can see both sets of the falls in this video. And then lastly, I chose a video from Vietnam. This is Ha Long Bay. This is in northern Vietnam near the China border. It's very near the Dacian Falls. And it's on the northwest coast of the Gulf of Tonkin. Ha Long Bay roughly translates to where the dragon descends to the sea. And it does have this dreamy feeling with the limestone pillars that jut out of the water. There are lots of caves and grottos, and they all kind of come together and create this kind of mystical, magical seascape. This is a 10-minute video, and it is a cruise through Ha Long Bay, but then it also includes getting off the boat and walking through several of the caves and the grottos. It's very beautiful scenery. It's set to music, and it is definitely will make you feel like you've actually been to this part of Vietnam. Finally, in Asia, I want to talk about Mount Everest, because very few people will actually ever get to see Mount Everest up close and personal. I believe only about 800 people are able to see it each year or climb up to the peak. And it's a 2-month process to climb Mount Everest. So using technology to be able to experience it seems to me like a smart thing to do. The first video that I've provided you with is a 360-degree experience of Mount Everest. And if you see the picture in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can see that there are several different points around Mount Everest that you can click on, and you can get a new vantage point from there. Each click is a 360-degree still video, so you can get a lot of different perspective in the entire range surrounding Mount Everest. In addition, there's a sidebar on the right side of the screen that will show you different areas that you can also click on and really explore this region if it's of interest to you. It's like nowhere else on Earth. It's really stunning and interesting to click around and just experience what you're seeing. The second video I've picked is a narrated informational video about trekking to base camp, which would be the first stop if you were to be climbing the mountain. Base camp is where you acclimate yourself to the altitude, and you spend a lot of time there slowly working your way up and down the mountain to get ready to summit the peak if that's what you're doing. And the trek itself is quite a journey, and this video will take you step by step everything you need to know about making the trek to Everest Base Camp. It's a 19-minute video, and I found it to be very interesting. So if this is something that that is interesting to you, you would probably enjoy this. And then the last video is just a very beautiful aerial video of Mount Everest and the surrounding area, providing vantage points that you're not going to get from the ground, but they are all very beautiful and worth watching. It's about 1 minute long, and will set the stage for your trek to Mount Everest. Then we'll move on to Africa. And one of our first stops is another mountain. This is Mount Kilimanjaro. It's in Tanzania. It's the highest mountain in Africa. It's a dormant volcano, and it's the highest freestanding mountain in the world. Kilimanjaro is very popular for both experienced hikers and first-time hikers because it's considered to be the easiest of the 7 summits to climb. It doesn't require a lot of technical skill, and it doesn't require a lot of equipment like harnesses or the ice axes or the things that you would need to get up Everest. It's more of a hike or a walk up peak rather than a mountaineering experience. And more people can climb it. So there are about 30,000 people a year that do climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It takes between 5 and 9 days to climb. So what I've provided you with is a link to 2 parts of the same series. It's the same YouTuber who is climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and he takes you step by step through his experience to get to the top. The first video ends as a cliffhanger whether or not he's actually going to summit because he's gotten quite sick with the altitude sickness. And then it picks up in the second video, and he does, spoiler alert, he does make it to the top and provide beautiful scenery down into Tanzania below. The first video is about 10 minutes long, and the second one is about 14 minutes long. And you really get to experience being there. You can look down into the volcano itself then when you get to the top. It's very interesting and quite beautiful. And then the next stop is Kruger National Park, which is in South Africa. Kruger National Park is one of Africa's largest game reserves. It's a must-see destination for visitors to South Africa. It's about a 5-hour drive from Johannesburg, but you can also get smaller regional flights to get there. It has a very high density of animals, so it's a very popular safari location. The big 5 are located there, and that would be lions, leopards, rhinoceroses, elephants, and buffalo. So going on safari, Kruger is going to provide a lot of variety of wildlife. This video is a long video. It's an hour and a half long, and it is of a safari trip within the park. It takes you very close and to the wildlife that you're going to see, close to the animals. It's very well done. It's a very beautiful, high quality video. And if you aren't able to get to Africa and to go on safari, this really is going to be the next best thing. It's going to give you the great feeling of actually being there. One other resource that I did not include on my slideshow, but I do want to direct your attention to it. It's in the handout that we emailed along with this, and it's at the very bottom of the handout, and it's a link to a live stream where they do live videos every day, twice a day, of safaris in different private reserves throughout South Africa, and I think it's South Africa. And I've tuned in a couple of times. I believe it's at I have to check my notes, like 9:30 in the morning and maybe 11 o'clock at night, where you can tune in and actually go on a live safari with a live person, a park ranger, who is explaining to you what you're looking at and giving you some more information about the animals. So I thought that was a really fun way to do a virtual trip to Africa. And I guess that wraps it up. That's the end of our presentation. Hopefully you'll have a chance to refer to our handout that we gave you and click on some of the links and take some of the trips that we're recommending, and then be brave and see what else you can find on the internet. There's a lot of wonderful trips that you can take just from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, Susan and I were going through and trying to locate videos. There were so many more than what we were able to focus on in this in this slideshow. So the links that are sort of organized by continent are really pretty good. I think any of them could have appeared in the main body of our presentation. In addition to the ones that we have there, I've also included some general resources for places to just explore, like Susan is discussing. Like Air Pano, for example, is this website that has a lot of 360-degree drone videos, and they tend to be relatively short, 2, 3, 4 minutes long, but some are longer. There are also 360-degree stills of a lot of these locations on their website. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that one. Explore.org has live cams, and I think they may be the organization that has the safari that Susan was referring to. But you can go to a lot of different places around the world and check out some live views of what's going on there. One that I thought was kind of interesting is they have a Northern Lights cam in Churchill, Manitoba, in Canada. And this spot is known for its polar bears. So people go up there and spend all sorts of money to have polar bear tours. But in the summer, like now, you can stay up till midnight or 2 a.m. and check out the live stream of the Northern Lights. And if you miss some of the live stuff, you can see screen captures that they've taken of the Northern Lights in the preceding week or 2 weeks. And it's pretty amazing. And one other thing I'd like to mention is there's a site called windowswap.com. That's the last resource I mentioned. And this is a fairly fascinating project where people send in 10-minute videos of the view from outside their window all over the globe. And you click on a button and it says, basically, take me to someone's window. And you get to see 10 minutes of what it's like to live in India or in Brooklyn or, all these places around the globe. So that's a really good one as well. So if you have any questions, you could type them at this time. Looks like we might have one.
I'm actually going to open up